Do you know this situation? Every day, countless small internal coordination tasks happen across your company. Follow-up questions about documents or records in Business Central, tasks related to approvals, or to-dos that get lost somewhere between email, Teams, verbal communication, and these small yellow post-its. These interruptions cost time, create misunderstandings, and increase the risk that important process steps are overlooked, especially when communication does not happen directly within the related business process. That is why many companies are looking for a solution that allows them to manage questions, tasks, and information directly within the process and directly inside Business Central. FlowPath is an extension for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central that enables you to create, assign, track, and process questions, tasks, and information directly in relation to records and processes. The goal is to optimize internal communication and, above all, improve process security in everyday operations. Instead of distributing information across multiple tools, everything stays exactly where it belongs, directly on the relevant record in Business Central. There are three core entry types: questions, tasks, and information. Let's start with the first area: questions. Questions are ideal whenever something still needs to be clarified in relation to a process. For example, is this order complete? Has the price already been agreed? Can this document be approved? Once a question is created, this question can be answered directly in the system. A notification is sent to the receiver or receiver group via email and is also visible on the Role Center in Business Central. The answer given can either be a simple text message or can be linked via field link to a Business Central field. When the answer is accepted by the creator, the value will be automatically written into the configured field. The second area is tasks. Tasks help you organize specific work steps within the system. For example, check the documents, obtain customer approval, or review line items. Tasks can move through different processing stages, such as created, in process, on hold, incompleted, completed, rejected, or approved. This allows everyone involved to immediately see how far the process has progressed. The third area is information. Information is ideal whenever something should be documented or communicated for awareness, without necessarily requiring a follow-up question or an operational task. With the transparent history of entries, nobody can say they have not received or acknowledged the information. An information entry can be created and acknowledged. This is especially helpful when important notes should not simply exist somewhere in the system, but should be clearly communicated to the right people in a traceable way. One of FlowPath's greatest strengths is that entries are always process-related. This means that a question, task, or information entry is directly linked to the relevant record or process. Users immediately understand what the entry refers to, where to start, what has to be done next, and who is responsible. That creates clarity and reduces misunderstandings. Another key aspect is transparency. FlowPath maintains a continuously updated history. This makes it possible at any time to see the current status, which user has already completed, which step, and which entries are still open. Especially in processes that involve several team members, this is a major advantage. Questions like, "Who is working on this right now?" or "Has this already been completed?" can be answered directly in the system. Now let's look at a particularly practical area: catalogs and templates. Catalogs and templates help ensure that recurring questions, tasks, and information entries do not have to be created from scratch every single time. Catalogs are predefined collections for individual entries. For example, a standardized task with a title, description, responsibility, and possibly even a defined priority or due date logic. This ensures that recurring steps are always created in a consistent and structured way. Templates go one step further. They combine several recurring entries into one defined package. This is especially helpful for standardized workflows, such as onboarding processes, review procedures, or typical work steps related to certain Business Central records. This is a major time-saving feature for recurring processes. In addition, predefined task packages help new employees understand the required work steps more quickly and complete them in a structured way. Now let's come to one of the most important parts of FlowPath: critical entries. With FlowPath, entries can be marked as critical, and this function is exactly what creates a high level of process security. This is because open critical entries block the conversion or posting process until the critical point has been completed. In practice, this means an order is only posted once the required review has been completed. A process only continues once a mandatory task has been finished, and a workflow step can only be completed once a crucial question has been resolved. These critical entries are therefore a central security mechanism within the system. They ensure that important work steps cannot be bypassed, forgotten, or accidentally skipped. Of course, even the best task is useless if no one knows about it. That is why FlowPath supports notifications via the Role Center, by email, and through other channels like Microsoft Teams. The responsible user receives a notification via email that signals the open entry and links directly back to Business Central. A particularly exciting feature is the Teams connection. Power Automate can generate cards in Microsoft Teams, allowing the responsible user to process or answer assigned questions directly in the Teams interface. The answer is then synchronized back to Business Central. This requires a Power Automate workflow. This keeps the process centrally anchored in the ERP system, while users can still respond in the environment they already work in every day. So what does this mean in practical terms for companies? With FlowPath, you structure internal communication directly in Business Central. You create clear responsibilities. You standardize recurring workflows with templates and catalogs. And you increase process security by ensuring that critical steps cannot simply be bypassed. Especially for companies with many coordination tasks, review processes, and recurring operational steps, this can make a noticeable difference in everyday business. To sum it up, FlowPath is a powerful extension for companies that want to improve both internal communication and process quality in Business Central. With questions, tasks, and information, you bring structure to your daily workflows. With catalogs and templates, you standardize requiring processes. And with critical entries, you ensure that important work steps are completed before a process moves forward. This turns internal coordination into a transparent, secure, and efficient process directly within your ERP system.